Hi. Today's Easter. It's the evening of Easter. I hope you had a good one. Um, I hope you believe. If you don't, I can understand why. A lot of other stuff out there to hear and explore, I suppose. But if you've been watching me, you know why I believe, and I hope you do watch my previous. I'm going to start today talking about my mom. Now, my mom's living with me in my story, and when I was little, she always had a Japanese Bible, and she always kept it near her bed. Um, she was Shinto in Japan, and I was actually baptized in Shinto religion, which I don't know anything about. But her sister, who lived in Florida, who also married an American serviceman, she became a Christian at some point in time, and she would write to my mom and talk to her on the phone and a lot about Jesus. And my mom used to say to me that too much religion makes you crazy. And I suppose that's true. Too much of anything because, um, you know, religion is good to a point, but we have to remember that we're still living on this earth and we have earthly people to relate to and all that. So I guess it's kind of true. You know, there are religious fanatics out there that are, people don't listen to them. You know, if you go too much that way, people aren't going to listen to you because they can't relate. Uh, so Anyway, my mom was one of the stubborn ones. You know, she didn't believe, but she was okay with me going to church, but she didn't want to hear much about it, and that was okay. Um, but when she went to visit her sister in Florida for the second or third time, and she was in her 80s when we lived in this apartment in Alpharetta, and she got baptized. She accepted Christ, something finally sunk into her, and she got baptized in the swimming pool in Florida. So I was thrilled about that, and she really was different when she came back. She was born again, she was a different person. But as I told you also, soon after that, uh, she was already in her 80s when she was baptized, so it was just, I don't know, within couple years, she was definitely starting to lose, some of her mental facilities. Um, for example, one day when I went to work, she had climbed up and was trying to get a suitcase down from the very top of the closet, and she fell, and the suitcases fell on top of her and all. I mean, she didn't get hurt, but just an example of how she was doing things that she shouldn't have been doing, and almost lit her sweater on fire. We had a gas stove, and she had her sweater just hanging over her. You know how you could just drape it over your shoulders? She had it just hanging over her. She's reaching across the burners while the gas is on and was hanging down, synthetic type sweater that could have caught on flame very bad right away. And other things like that around the stove, that she was not careful with the gas stove. And I was starting to feel like not comfortable with her being home alone when I had to go to work. Uh, she actually was diagnosed with dementia. She had the beginnings of dementia. It wasn't like she couldn't remember anything, but she did have the beginnings of dementia. She started to get paranoid where she did not trust me at all. She said I was stealing from her. I told you previously that she had spent all of her savings, and she couldn't understand it, that she was really month to month, which wasn't bad, because I was only asking her for a very little bit towards the household expenses, and she just couldn't understand why she still didn't have thousands in the bank. Um, she liked to shop. I used to bring her shopping every once a week. I either took her shopping or took her out to lunch. Um, just to get her out of the house. She had no friends in Georgia. She did talk on the phone to some of her friends in New Jersey, and her sister in Florida. But she really, it was depressing because she used to be very social. I tried to get her out, to meet other older people like her, and she didn't want to, she had no interest in meeting anybody. So it got to the point, the dementia, where she got paranoid about me and she thought I was trying to poison her. She wouldn't eat anything I made, anything I brought into her. She stayed in her bed most of the time. We had one of those hospital beds for her where she could go up and down, and that's where she stayed most of the time. Had a TV in her room. And it was sad when she wouldn't take her pills as prescribed. Only on the days she didn't feel good, she would take her pills. And, a lot of them she was supposed to take every day. Uh, if I brought her food, she would just clamp down like, no way, she wasn't eating anything I gave her. She was pretty much living on Ensure. Uh, it was sad. And she was calling my brother, who was living in Virginia. My brother's living in Virginia with his girlfriend, and she's calling him all the time, complaining about me, telling him that I spent all her money and that I was trying to poison her, and she was just miserable, right? I did all I could, all I knew what to do to try to help her, but she got into that mode where she wanted to be somewhere else. She didn't want to be with me. So I told you that, they didn't want her to stay in Japan. Her sister in Florida didn't want her to stay there. So my brother in Virginia was her last hope, because none of her friends in New Jersey wanted her to stay with them. So she finally succeeded in complaining enough to him. Well, what happened was this, that I talked with my brother and I told him that I wanted to put her into assisted living because I didn't like her being home alone when I wasn't there anymore. And he agreed. I found a really, really nice place. It was close by, and I could go visit her like almost every day. Um, it was a really nice place. It was like $3,000 a month, which was a lot of money to us. But she was able to do it with between her Social Security and my dad's pension she got, the widow's benefits from the government. She had it, and all we needed was $5,000 deposit, and she could move in. It was a beautiful place. It was pretty new and a really nice place. And so my brother came down with his girlfriend and to help encourage her to move in, with the move in and all. So we brought her there and she liked it. I don't know how she could not like it. The place was really, really nice. I mean, I would like to live there. Uh, so she was good with it. And my brother went home, drove 11 hours back home to Virginia where he lived. And the next day, when it was time for her to, the next day I was supposed to get the deposit to the place, and then she was going to be moving in. $5,000 deposit. Now, I had power of attorney, and all I had to do was go to the bank down the street, get that, bring that to the place, and then she's moving in. Thought it was all set. Well, that day she was not there. She disappeared. Now, she never went anywhere except when I brought her somewhere. So, I mean, I had been all the time she was living with me, I was always trying to encourage her to take a walk, take a little walk, just a little walk in the neighborhood. She never wanted to go out of the yard for anything. And this day she was gone. So I was went and drove around. My son was living with us at that time, and he drove around, and we're looking for her. And then I got it into my head that maybe she went to the bank because of all this that's going on, right? So I drove up to the bank, and now to go to the bank, it was a steep hill um, up there to go. I was trying. McGinnis Ferry was the street, and it was a steep hill up to the bank. Well, I went up there to get the $5,000 out and close her account, right? And with the power of attorney, well, when I went up to the teller, she acted strange. She disappeared. Next thing, she's telling me that I can't get the money. And I said, I had it in my hand. I got the power of attorney. I told her the whole situation that she's moving into this assisted living. I got to give her the $5,000 deposit. And she was hemming and hawing and stalling and acting really strange. I said, I want to talk to the manager. She went out and went to get the manager, and I looked out the big window, and here comes the sheriff. And I knew she had called the sheriff on me. And then I knew that my mother had walked up there, up that steep hill. I don't know how she made it. Maybe she got a ride somehow, but she went to the bank and told them that I was stealing from her, and whatever she had to do. I don't know if she withdrew the power of attorney, or she just told them to call the sheriff, or what, I don't know. But I was sure that sheriff arrived to get me. And I just, when the managers came out, I started to tell her, I have power of attorney. And she's just like looking out the window watching for that sheriff to come in. And I just said, forget it. And I just walked out past the sheriff and left. And she came home in a little while and wouldn't talk to me at all. And the next morning, early in the morning, my brother shows up at the door, and he was livid. She had called him, and that was the last straw with her complaining, said I was stealing and all that. And he had it up to here, and he just said, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and she was still sleeping in the bed, and he comes storming in, uh, starts yelling and screaming at her, and she's all shaking and he said, okay, you told me to come and get you. I'm here. He drove 11 hours after he had just been here, 11 hours back, and he just started throwing all her stuff in his car and told her to get in the car, and he was off, took off, and he was gone, and that was it. So she was gone, he was gone, he was mad at me. He didn't want to take her, but he did, because she was complaining so much. And shoot, $3,000 a month for him, right? Instead of the assisted living. So that's what happened to my mom. And she was with him for a year or two, something like that. And then one day, he called me. I mean, as soon as she moved in with him, she starts calling me, complaining about him. They never take me anywhere. I'm just in the room and I never go anywhere. They never take me out. Da da da. Woe is me, right? And all little kinds of trivia stuff that who cares, you know? I mean, things are going to go on in any household. Anyway, she was just not appreciative, never happy, and always played me and my brother against each other. She always tried to act like one of us was her favorite and, you know, telling secrets to each other and all that, always. So after a year or two, my brother, I heard that she got lung cancer. She smoked almost all her life. She didn't quit smoking until she was in her 70s. And she got lung cancer, and they gave her 2 months to live. So my a little more time went by, and my brother said, you know, she's not going to last long. So if you want to come visit, you better come now. So I went up there with my son and drove the 11 hours to go up there, and we got lost, and it was a little bit, you know, it was like 90 minutes late arriving because I got lost. And he was pissed because we didn't get there on time. They were almost not even going to let us see her. And let us in for a limited amount of time. And never had any private time with her because the girlfriend stood at the door and listened the whole time to our conversation. And then my brother, when I was leaving, oh no, when I asked my son to go in the other room, you know, with his uncle for a little bit so I could have, you know, a little alone time with my mom, you know. But again, you know, the girlfriend was in the hallway listening. But anyway, while I was in the bedroom with my mom and my son was out in the other room with my brother just started telling him off, yelling at him and telling him, uh, just saying really mean, ugly things to him and comparing him to his son. Oh, my son, look what my son has done. My son's accomplished this and that, and my son's doing this, and my son's a world traveler, and all this stuff. And, you know, it was really, really ugly. And so let me tell you, my son and I, we knew what we were stepping into by visiting there. And before we visited, we had prayed together a lot, um, claiming Ephesians chapter 6, you know, the armor of God, um, spiritual warfare. Really, that's what we were stepping into. We knew it, and we were ready. And it was a total miracle that my son didn't punch him, that he did not punch my brother in the face. Really, that was a miracle. He's my son. I was so proud of him that he just kept his mouth shut, just took it, and didn't even say a word to his uncle, because we were expecting it. Because I know my brother. My brother resented me um, because I abandoned the family. And he had every right to feel that way. It was true. I abandoned the family. My whole story is out there. You know, I went, I left all of that. And he felt like he was kind of stuck there. And he's the one who buried my grandmother and my dad. And I was in California and I couldn't make it out for the funeral. And he resented me a lot for that, that he was the one that was there through their last days, and the funerals and all that. And and I abandoned him when he was just in his late teens and he needed a big sister. our family was so dysfunctional. He needed me, and I left him. So I understand how he felt so bad. And yeah, his son was more accomplished than my son, but that is never right to rub that in like that. That was just so rude, horrible. Um, so my brother said to me, when mom dies, I don't have a sister anymore. And I haven't we haven't talked since. That's it. So it's better for me, less stress, right? I don't need that kind of stress. My son doesn't need it either. So to move on, uh I was at oh, what time is it? Wow. That was a lot. I guess maybe I should leave it there now. I don't want to talk too long. So I'm going to leave that now. Uh ugly sad family story. Um conclusion of pretty much back in my season one, my childhood trauma that I've been through with my family. And now my family's gone, except my own three kids. That's it. Me and my three kids to this day. And my cousins are in Florida, thank God. And I need to see them again soon, I hope. Okay, that's it for now. God bless.